Oscar Alvarado is a tile mosaic artist based in San Antonio, Texas, who creates small and large scale steel and concrete sculptures, murals, and other tile mosaic pieces. Oscar is an eighth generation descendant of a founder of Texas and one of the founders of First Friday Art Walk in San Antonio. Make some noise if you've been to First Friday Art Walk. In 1994, that's a big deal. Talking about the 1900s, y'all. Oscar has created over $1.5 million of public art consisting of more than 50 pieces in San Antonio and other public art in Texas and in homes across the USA. Please welcome to the stage mosaicist sculptor Oscar Alvarado.
Howdy. My family's been in San Antonio for over 280 years, and in the past they were politicians, and I didn't choose that route. I got a degree in finance from UTSA in 1985, and I spent years in business wearing a suit. At one point, I quit my job and became something else. I'm going to show you pictures of what I do now. Huh? Okay. This is a vintage clothing store I had in Southtown in 1995 when I was living in an old gas station lounge that my brother, my friend Daryl, and I converted into a residence, office, studio, and retail space. After less than a year, I closed my store and turned it into a mosaic studio. In 1998, my wife, roommate, and I were featured in the Spaces columns of the Express News. I lived there for 6 years before I bought a house right around the corner in Southtown. This building has come full circle and is currently a bar again. Southtown 101. My first public art commission in San Antonio was to brighten up the underside of the bridges on the Riverwalk in 2002 when it was being reconstructed after the flood the year before. I call this a dog's eye view of San Antonio. I took my dog Darla to work with me each day and held her against the wall to outline her actual size in this mural. Here I'm using a direct method to create this mosaic of Jose Antonio Navarro, founding father of Texas and my great-great-great-great-grandfather. This commission did not call for art at Navarro Street because the bridge was too low and the walls were filled with infrastructure, so I proposed to do this mosaic for no additional cost to the city. After seeing my small mosaic pieces at Tienda Guadalupe on South Alamo Street, my first patron, Linda McCombs, commissioned me to create mosaic countertops in her home, and I made yard furniture and a giant turtle and this iguana, in addition to several other mosaics that are in her estate right now. I also was commissioned to make this for a private meditation garden. On the left is the final sculpted concrete Buddha, and on the right, after I finished covering him with tile. It took 4 of us to carry him into the beautiful garden using these built-in handles I created all around the bottom. Got a head on that one. Throughout San Antonio, I've done installations in restaurants and bars under the direction of artist Robert Tatum, including this one, the Boston Pub. It's no longer open. I created these 14-foot-tall fake newspapers for the front and back of the bar, and I made and installed 20 light fixtures throughout. My assistant at the time, David Lozano, did the stained glass. When my brother was remodeling my sister's townhouse bathroom, he commissioned me to create a mosaic in the center of her shower wall, where there was no window. I composed this illusion of an owl on a tree branch outside a window. My brother, Robert, is the Theo to my visit. Take Me to the Moon. It says Llévame a la Luna on the other side. In 2013, I worked with Public Art San Antonio and made a series of 3 bus stop art pieces along South Zarzamora. These 11-foot-tall, 2-ton steel and concrete sculptures covered in glass tell the story of when I lived in that neighborhood in 1968. These are 2-sided pieces with English on the back and Spanish in the front. After I won a competition for public art at the fire station number 5 in the city of Fort Worth, I adorned this landscape wall and created Service Through the Centuries, which shows 3 previous fire station buildings and the firefighters from the 19th and 20th centuries working together. Go Spurs Go. This fence is at my studio, my brother's construction yard, 2 miles up the street. The signs were created by master carpenter Joe Ramos, and the remaining is made from found objects, recycled house parts, intentional components, and leftover building materials. At Yanaguana Garden in Hemisphere Park, I created 3 pieces, including the Anhinga bench, which is across from my 7-ton, 12-foot-long Blue Panther that you may be familiar with. I was commissioned to make these benches to tell the Payaya story of the Yanaguana, that the Blue Panther chased the Anhinga bird out of the Blue Hole, which is the source of water for the San Antonio River. I created a series of benches and mosaics throughout the new Elmendorf Lake Park based on a concept of rejuvenation. In the center of this plaza is a mosaic map of the area with outlines of 2 previous dams and the very different shapes of the lakes that occupied that area. All right, I got ahead. I created this exterior floor mosaic at the Alamo College's district at the site of the old Playland Park. I featured each of the college's founding years and prominent colors. My octogenarian 5-foot-tall mom is in the photo for scale here. 2 years ago, I was commissioned to create, I jumped. There are 2 25,000-piece murals in the lobby of the Hilton Palacio del Rio, downtown Riverwalk. This one is titled Passage in honor of Milton Guess. In my process, I worked with several artists to develop and create the final design that includes actual plants that are on the Riverwalk. 2 years ago, I was commissioned to create a sign and a bench for the Boys and Girls Club at the Martin Luther King Jr. Park. So I combined the 2 and made this. On the bench side is a quote from MLK Jr. who said, "And I say to you, my friends, let freedom ring." This was a dedication ceremony. I created porcelain mosaic at the center of the Texas A&M University San Antonio campus with Armando Vasquez, master mosaicist and painter from Honduras, who has worked with me for over 10 years. Armando was instrumental in this entire composition. This university seal can only be walked on by graduating seniors during a formal ring ceremony. I was commissioned to do a mosaic for a family on the back of a concrete wall of their home in remembrance of their young daughter who lost her life to a rare disease. They read her a story about a dragonfly nymph that was to help her understand death, and this is what I designed and made. Protector. After winning a competition for public art at the City of Odessa Public Police Training Facility, I designed and created this anthropomorphic sculpture. This 11-foot-tall, 2.5-ton sculpture is made of steel and concrete, embedded colored glass slabs, and covered with glass, porcelain, and natural stone. San Antonio skyline. My twin brother commissioned me to make this view from the south, looking at downtown skyline from his Roosevelt Park neighborhood home toward downtown. I composed the skyline with his direction and contributions, and even included my Lavaca house, as well as other small buildings that I like. That's what I do.
Oscar Alvarado, you artistic historian. You are so brilliant, and I want to commend you for just, my God, the visions that you create. I mean, they're so just astounding. I wanted to ask you, what is, because you have such a history, your family has such a history, what's something that you really want to leave as a legacy and want people to know, young artists coming up in San Antonio? What's something you think it's really important for them to know as artists here in San Antonio?
Wow. One thing would really love to do is make a giant sculpture to honor the autochthonous, or the autochtono, the autochthon. So the original, the aboriginal, what was here before and what has survived.
That is amazing. Isn't he brilliant? Like, what? That's awesome. So, because there's so much history, especially in this particular spot, like right here, I was like, before we started, I was like trying to get with them about questions, and most of them I'm winging these questions, but I want to ask you, Chisme, tell me the story, tell them the story about coming to this theater, about your dad and the incident.
Well, there used to be a playground right up front here in the concession stand, for those who were here before. And I never remember the movies because we were young when we came. But there was an incident where my dad may have been drinking beers with his friends, and he drove off with the speaker still connected to the window of his '64 Impala.
He allegedly was drinking.
The window didn't break, but the speaker did.
Yeah, because back in the 1900s, they made cars out of steel, metal, grit and manhood. I think they literally, one of the ingredients of car making, yes, I said ingredients of car making, was to put manhood into the metal. It's good. All right, I have a very loaded question to ask you, so I'm going to ask you this as your last question to sum up. I would like for you to talk to us about the project that you have coming up and the sculpture garden and the legacy that it is for your wife.
I'm currently developing a sculpture garden at my studio, which is about 2 miles up the road here on Roosevelt, 1001 Roosevelt, right at Highway 90. And I'm doing a series of anthropomorphic pieces that are going to be kinetic. And I want to do these moving pieces that I could perhaps install on the side of the road to get people to slow down.
Thank you. So social media, real quick before you go, can you give us your social handles so we can stalk you online, but not slide in your DMs?
It's just Oscar and artist put together, oscartist.com.
Even in that's so cute. Oscar Artist. Y'all give a hand to Oscar Alvarado.